Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Welcome to this episode of the Note Closer Show. As always, Scott Carson, excited to be here with you today. Many of you guys are out there doing amazing things and really rocking the entrepreneurship journey out there. And many of you are doing it kind of solo. Some of you guys are doing things differently than what your tribe is knowing you for. A lot of times you're diving into real estate investing as a side hobby, looking to make it a full-time hobby. And let's just face it, sometimes our people that are closest to us don't always understand what's going on or maybe not be the most supportive. So I'm really excited to have my friend, Dr. Rhoberta Shaler, join us on here today on this episode of the Note Closer Show. Dr. Rhoberta and I are friends from the New Media Summit that I attended last week. I've known her for, I guess I've known you for about a year now. We've been a couple different things. And she is known, this is what you guys are going to like. So you're going to take some notes on this, okay? All right, she's known as a relationship help doctor out there, and she's a relationship consultant, speaker, and author. The relationship help doctor provides urgent and ongoing care for relationships in crisis. God knows we've all had that. Even the United States Marine has sought her help out there. All right, she empowers the partners, execs, and adult children of the relentlessly difficult, toxic people she calls hijackals. Oh, I love that. To recognize and stop the crazy making, to end the emotional abuse, and save their sanity. She's the author of 16 books, including Escaping the Hijackal, Trap and Stop. That's crazy making. She hosts 2 podcasts, The Transforming Relationship with Emotional Savvy and Save Your Sanity, Help for Toxic Relations. Her YouTube channel for Relationship Help has reached over 270,000 views. So we are honored to have you this afternoon on the Note Closer Show.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here because in every industry, just as you said, we're going to meet those, what I call relentlessly difficult people.
Yeah, that's the thing there is that everybody deals with it. Everybody's got somebody in their family or somebody, a coworker, or somebody in their, I guess you could say, circle of influence that is just difficult. And so, what would you say is one of the best ways to either identify or maybe working with those difficult hijackals, as you like to say?
Well, first of all, let me tell you what a hijackal is so that we are all on the same page. I created and trademarked that term, Scott, because too many people were going to the internet and they're saying, this is happening in my relationship. And they were forgetting that the internet is an index, not a mental health professional. So when it spit back, narcissist, sociopath, psychopath, borderline, whatever, no, I don't want that happening because you're in relationship with them. You don't want to be separating yourself in that way with the diagnosis. So I wanted a term that we could all talk about the patterns, traits, and cycles of these people without a psychological diagnosis, because that is not necessarily helpful. So that's why hijackals. And so how you're going to recognize you have one is that no matter what you do, no matter what you say, no matter what you want, they have to win. They have to be right. They have to be the one who knows. Haven't you had that experience with somebody over and over and over again? You know very well you just told them something that they couldn't possibly know, and they say, oh yeah, I knew. Or that person that you are having a conversation with and you think, okay, I'm going to step in, I'm going to agree with them. And just as you agree with them, they turn the tables and say, yeah, but it's kind of silly, don't you think? I mean, and there you are, you're just left hanging. And this happens so frequently. So people who have to win, people who go off like a Roman candle, out of proportion emotions, people who engage in black or white thinking like you're the best thing that they ever found, and then you just look at them sideways and now you're the worst person on the earth. No gray areas, things like that. Know some?
I think we all have some of those horror stories or people we want to run from in the best case if we can. But I think it's hard. You get in, especially if somebody's black or white. One minute you think they're one way, and the next minute completely opposite, and you're kind of left, whoa, this is not the person that I know or the person I've met, and kind of, I won't say self-diagnosed or what's the word I'm looking for here? Kind of precondition ourselves, hey, they're going to act this way, and then they completely flip on you, right?
Yes, and they love to do that because it gives them power over you and it makes them able to control the conversation, or so they think, but definitely it's what they want. So if they can confuse you, like if you're talking to a true hijackal and they need to win in the moment, they will say black is white.
Hmm.
And 5 minutes later, they need to win in the moment and they'll say black is red. And then when you say to them, but hey, 5 minutes ago you said black is white, they say, you don't listen very well, do you? What? Right? Now it's my fault. I mean, I can't even fact check because there are no facts, right? But when I do try to attempt it, I mean, we've even had instances, I think many of us have probably seen on television, where they'll roll a piece of tape and somebody says something and the somebody says, I never said that. The media has it all wrong. Hey, this is real time tape of you saying that. And that's what happens.
Hmm. Definitely what happens. Now, what would you recommend to people out there, listeners out there in Note Nation, on some of the best ways to handle that? To just walk away from the situation, to hold your ground, to just kind of take it with a grain of salt and move on? Or what's some of the ways that you talk with your clients to help them overcome obstacles?
Well, it depends how close the relationship is. If it's a one time relationship, you're going to buy a car. Okay, that's a one time relationship. You're going to have a conversation. You're going to get what you want. You're going to hold your ground or you're going to leave. But
Hmm.
somebody that you want to work with repeatedly, or you're in the middle of a deal with or a negotiation, or you're trying to help and they're getting in the way of you helping them, what's important then is to be able to lean in and go, okay, I need to observe this really carefully. What I get this feeling, I feel twisted and hung out to dry. What just happened? And you need to sit back and be a little reflective about that. Then, if it's a relationship that you need to develop further, then I always suggest lean in and ask questions, become more neutral. Scott, I've written 16 books, and in one of them it's called Kaizen for Couples, but it has couples on the cover, but it's for every relationship in your life. And in there I give one of the strategies that I created, and it's called the personal weather report. And for us to be assertive, which is our absolute right to be assertive, is to know that we have the right to say what we think, feel, need, or want, as long as we're only talking about ourselves and never mentioning another human by name or pronoun. You have that absolute right. This is what I think, this is what I feel, this is what I want, this is what I need. So start by speaking only of yourself, saying what you think, feel, need, or want with no reference to any other humans. That's always a good place. For me, I think this is the best way for me to go. When I was in that situation, I thought this way. So you're only self referential. When you back off to that place, maybe they won't improve, but you will. You will have improved your engagement in that relationship. And that's really important.
Mm. That's great words of counsel there. Not advice, because everybody's got advice, but counsel is a great way to look at things when it comes to that. Now, I always liked, if you know it's going to be a heated argument or a heated conversation, what are some ways to help alleviate that? Because especially one of the things that we deal with is we're calling, especially with us buying debt or buying mortgages in a default. A lot of people are out there. We're often dealing with borrowers who haven't paid in a year or 2 years. It may be very nervous or very
Mm-hmm.
stressed out because they've lost their job or there've been things like that. What are some tips that you might give us to us out there to be able to help that?
Well, hijackal or not, the best thing to do is always to acknowledge their feelings. I know this is a difficult time for you, and I know that you can be stressed. Always name it, because that helps the other person go, oh, you get me. And then the second thing is to say, and I'm here to help you. And how I can do that, maybe you're not going to like everything I have to offer. Maybe it's not the things that you would most like to do. But as a professional, I want you to know I'm here to help you. And here are my advised next best steps.
Mm, that's
So
a
you
great way.
you
Sorry.
jump in with them, right? You don't create distance at that stage. Sometimes you have to in a little while, but in the beginning, you jump in with them and you let them know, I get you, I see you, I hear you, I know that. And that allows them to relax.
Yeah, because you can identify that you're on the same level, not above them, and you're trying to kind of come to a resolution of some sort and take it down a little bit, huh?
Well, by the time they get to you, they believe everybody's out to get them and nobody wants their best interest. Nobody's on their side, right?
Yeah.
And so they come to you because they have to. They're at the end of their rope, perhaps, and they're already in this super cautious way. So when you just take that extra 2 minutes, that's all it takes at the beginning of each conversation to say, how are you doing? I know this is tough. And, I've had lots of people in your situation, and for every one of them, it's been stressful, it's been frightening, and all. So I'm really here to walk through with the least effort possible. You on board? Great, right?
I love that. Taking that time to just kind of deflate to the air out of a difficult
Yeah.
situation sometimes there. Now, bringing that up there, working with the Marines, how is that? It's kind of a little bit of a difficult, maybe a stressful, testosterone-filled environment a little bit.
Yeah, there's a lot of estrogen in the Marines too, but I know exactly what you're referring to. What happens with the Marines and what's happened in some of the situations, I've done a lot of training for the Marines, but when I'm called in to be a consultant, it's usually because a small team has come together. And it has analogies to your business too, because you'll have enlisted personnel, you'll have non-commissioned officers, you'll have commissioned officers, you'll have retired military, you'll have civilians, you'll have consultants. They'll all be in this one small group, and they're all operating from a different framework. And then they're supposed to communicate and get a job done. And that's where I help them. I help them come together, find the strategies, work together, learn how to talk well and problem solve, do that. And that's how it applies to them. Now, every now and again, of course, there's a hijackal. What a surprise. I had a client approach me, 2, 3 years ago, and he said, I've just gotten out of the military, he said, and I honestly believe that I was actually trained to be a sociopath. I need your help. Right? Because he
Hang on a
felt,
second.
yeah, and when I inquired with him, he felt like he was supposed to have deadened all his emotions, deadened all his feelings, and just go do the job. And of course, to a degree, that's absolutely right. But he said, I just need to be balanced back out again. I need your help. So whether it's an individual in the military or a team, that's how I can help them. And there are hijackals, of course. I mean, what's a better place to automatically be told that you can have power over other humans and they can't question your word or your methods?
Mm-hmm.
you
That
know.
definitely that's definitely true in the military there, yeah, for doing that there. Now, especially bringing people together. I imagine you do a lot of work with different companies out there and teams and companies trying to get them to kind of coordinate and work together too, huh?
I've done a lot of that. And as a professional speaker, I used to go, oh, that whole thing. If it's Thursday, it's Detroit, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Helping companies do that. Now, I mostly, when I'm helping companies, unless there's a really severe interpersonal issue I have to be present for, I do it this way. I
Mhm.
do it by video conferencing.
What are some of the best ways to help people kind of overcome those divides or those difficult situations of trying to get a team to work together? Because I think we can all agree when a team works together, things are rock and roll and they're all rolling in the same direction. But if they're going different directions, what's the best way to kind of get them to start moving in the same direction towards the same goal?
Well, first of all, make a list of your commonalities. These are the ways we're the same. These are the ways that we want the same outcome. This is our goal. Get people invested in the creation of the goal or the framing out of the goal, the outcome. Get them invested in how to do it because, like one organization that I worked for, the people, it was a small group, 9 people, and they were all different ways of perceiving in the world. And when I started to realize that we had these people who were really deeply feeling people and people who didn't care very much for other humans and all of this, then getting them to be invested and engaged with the outcome that they wanted was the only way that we could do it, so that we could keep saying, oh yes, but let's get back to where we're going. Let's stay on board with the process, because they wanted to popcorn all over the place saying, but I want it my way. Well, it won't work like that. Tell me your best offer to make this work, and we'll take that into consideration, but it isn't my way. It's our way.
Mm.
We're going on this path to this goal. And that kind of redirection, Scott, is really important.
Oh, I could see it. I'm hearing bells going off as you're talking about that. Hey, this is our way, not my way or the highway, but our best path to getting what we all want.
Right.
It's a great thing. What would you recommend to entrepreneurs out there, people that maybe don't have their spouses, or might be difficult to deal with, may not be on board with what they're trying to do?
Well, that's a generalized issue. I think many times when maybe we're going to make a shift in what we're doing, or we want to go down a new path, it's best to prepare that pathway before we say, hey, jump on this with me, or what's wrong with you? you
Mm-hmm.
know, to make sure that in your relationship, you always have good communication. And I don't like to say that because it sounds so rudimentary. But what I mean is that the communication is open and that you're safe and you can trust each other with your thoughts and your feelings and your needs and your wants. And so then when you say, I'm kind of entertaining this idea, it feels good to me, love your thoughts on it, then you get engagement. Then you get, we're in this together. But if you come home and you say, hey, babe, I'm going to do this, well, babe's not going to be too happy.
That's correct.
Right? Because what am I, chopped liver? We're not in this together. So always remember that true partnership means true consultation.
Mm-hmm.
And that communication has to stay open. And then you need to know you have the skills to resolve any issues that can come up. That you, if you have a partner, for instance, that runs away from conflict, and the other person is in pursuit and saying, hey, we need to settle this, and the other one's going, I'm going to go to sleep, then you've got to get some help. Like, because I work by video conferencing, I'll often work with partners who, maybe they've even separated. One's gone to stay with a friend for a week because they're so frustrated with the other. And then we can talk. And then we can find the common ground, and we can find the way that it works for both people. But if you don't have that communication to start with, that is your starting point. Right now, engage each other in your values, your vision for your life, your beliefs about everything. I don't just mean spiritual beliefs, I mean how money is best used, how the world works, how we get along with other humans. I mean, all kinds of things we need to be on the same page with. And then what are our next best steps? Engage each other in that as a team.
Mm-hmm. That sounds really sound advice, because I think you're right on the communication and sharing. Like you said, something what your goals and where you want your life to look like is a key component, because a lot of people, I'll even say myself, when my first marriage, thought we were going one way and we were going this way. And that's what led to part of the difficult, no matter how much we communicate. Somebody wanted to go a different route. And that's what ends up happening, unfortunately, a lot of time, I imagine. So,
Yeah, and life intervenes. I
mhm.
mean, particularly for young people, they're on a path. They've got a little cultural script. You go to get some job training, or go to college, or whatever you do, and find a job and be independent and buy a car and get a relationship and then create a family and and get a mortgage and do all of that. And then you wake up and you find you're not even talking to each other. That person at the other end of the dinner table is like, who are you again? I mean, I'm so busy, maybe with children, maybe with work, trying to make money, the pressures here and there, trying to move forward in the community, trying to maybe have a little fun, and maybe we don't have the same sense of what we want to do. So we each one goes to the gym, the other one goes to watch the game, whatever happens, and we lose that contact. And that person's going to be at the other end of the dinner table when the children are all gone, and you're going to look at each other and you're going to say, what happened?
I don't know you anymore, right?
No, no, we lost each other somewhere along the way, and we're so far apart. Can we get back together? So don't lose that. Right today, become interested in your partner. I think one way to do that, Scott, is don't ask your partner, how was your day? Ask your partner, how did you feel about your day?
Mm. I like that. Hang on. How did you feel about today? Because I think it's, hey, how was your day today? Versus how did you feel about the day? That really touches a whole different level, an emotional question to really draw some great information to saying, oh, it was great or good or bad or whatever, right?
Yes, and stick around for the response. You know, like we've got this whole thing, don't we? Like, how are you doing? Fine. And you keep on walking. And if someone says, how are you doing? And you say, my dog died this morning, they say, oh, good, see ya. I mean, we're not listening. So, in your partnership relationship at home, be the person who's present and listening.
Mm-hmm.
Don't ask a question you don't want the answer to. And if you are not emotionally mature enough to ask a question that you can handle a yes or no answer, don't ask the question because you're going to end up making your partner wrong.
Mm.
But emotional grown ups ask questions quite equipped to hear yes or no and take in the information and then maybe ask another question or understand something. But if you only ask questions that you want a yes answer to and then you say, well, why not? You know, already it's on. You don't want to do that. So take enough time. I'll give you an example. I had this couple, they ran a business together. So they were together 24/7. They had 4 kids in school. And they came to me and they said, this isn't going well. So after a few sessions, I said, okay, here's your homework. Twice this week, I need you to take 45 minutes, no TV, no kids, no nothing, be together. They had a hot tub. They had a beautiful big home. And so they chose the hot tub. We'll sit in the hot tub and we'll talk together as though we really care about each other and are interested in each other. So they came back the next week and I said, how was the homework? And they said, who has time for that? So I fired them. I said, you come back and see me when you truly want to improve your relationship because that's just the wrong response. If you can't find two 45-minute periods out of 168 hours in a week for each other, you're not ready to fix your relationship.
Mm-hmm. Do you think every relationship is fixable?
No, no, it isn't. If you have a hijackal relationship, the chances are the hijackal does not believe there's anything wrong with the relationship. They highly believe there's something wrong with you. And they'll and they'll be happy to point out every fault you never had,
Mm-hmm.
right? So those relationships are a whole other situation. But relationships that, maybe people have, I'm going to go all psychological on you here, Scott, but maybe people who didn't have a very good attachment in their families or were well bonded or well welcomed or had trauma in their early life or stressful or were neglected or were abused or things like that. And maybe you don't even think of it as abuse when they tell you, but it affected them deeply. You have to work through those things. You need to do it for yourself, but sometimes you won't do it for yourself because you wait and maybe you'll do it for the relationship. And those are wonderful. That's when we can really move to a place where both people say, oh, I had no idea it could be this good.
That really definitely sounds. Do you think that the use of smartphones and social media and text message has eroded a lot of our relationships or allowed people to kind of go off half cocked a little bit because the communication of body language and eyes and things like that is lost with social media and text messaging?
I absolutely do. I mean, I was working with a couple yesterday, and the fellow had not responded to the woman's text. And I mean, they're in a tight relationship, a marital relationship, and it was 6 hours. And I said to him, how could it possibly be that you don't have 10 seconds to say, really, really swamped right now, babe, get back to you in a while? And he looked at me and he said, would that be all it took? I said, yeah. because you made her important in your life. She's your person. And basically, you were saying, I don't care. You can wait. What I'm doing is way more important than you. But for that 10 seconds to say, no, you're important, and I'll let you know. And then for her, my advice was, you need to trust this guy. Trust that he makes good decisions. Trust that he makes wise decisions. And he's using his time for the best of what he needs to do. And if he doesn't get back to you immediately, go into trust. So with those two things that they could do, they thought, oh, well, that makes sense. We could do that, right?
I love it. That's a great counsel there for a lot of things out there, because I think it's everybody deals with that. Oh, I don't answer immediately, we get swamped, or we put the phone on silent and don't react quickly enough. Or I've even seen it escalate. One of the things I always crack up is I see the escalation in Facebook groups with people not agreeing these days. I really feel like we're very kind of hot tempered. I'm right, you're wrong aspect out there. And I think social media kind of fans the flames for that quite a bit. There,
Oh, yeah.
you've got
I
opinion there. I'll let you jump in there.
Yeah, well, I really think it does because it depersonalizes it. And so they don't really know you. I mean, you friended each other, but you have no clue who this person is. And or you're in the same group together and you really have no idea, except that you have some interest in common that got you into the group. And so this depersonalized way gives people permission to let their dark side out. What they wouldn't say to you if they met you and were in a group having this conversation in a seminar room, they feel free to just spit it out because they don't think there are any consequences. And then remember, well, you can't remember till I tell you what to remember, but the research shows that the number of hijackals is on the increase significantly. And the thing about hijackals is they will very, very, very seldom go to find out what's up with them because in their minds there's nothing wrong with them. So, what we know is the number of diagnosed people is going up at a rate that is alarming. So, imagine the number of undiagnosed people with hijackal traits, patterns, and cycles. So, when they get into a group and they can be depersonalized, ooh, they just love the cut and thrust. And then they say, you respond to their nastiness and they say, oh, you're too sensitive. And then they start using derogatory terms. And it's an outlet for all the anger and resentment and hate and shame that they feel. And they want to dump it all over other humans.
Mm.
So just hijackals in that situation make things very difficult. But I think too we've depersonalized things. I was not too long ago in the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York, and I had to take a photo because I was in the Roman Greco Hall, and it goes on forever, the ceiling, and the place
Gorgeous.
was full of artifacts, just chock full. And I took a photo of four people sitting on a bench, all independently on their phones. Now I tried, Scott, I really tried. I tried to pretend that they were listening to a guided tour of the Roman Greco Hall. But as they never looked at the artifacts, I had to disabuse myself of that notion. They were in their own worlds, in the world. Now you lose a lot that way. Imagine just the number of people who are walking down the street on the phone. They're not even making eye contact or smiling at other humans. What does that do to the richness of our appreciation of being in community? It just absolutely depletes it. Like other people don't matter. What I'm doing is the only thing that matters. Or, you may not do as much shopping as I do, but you get into a store, a women's wear store, and there'll be three people on their Bluetooths having loud conversations with other humans while you're in a store that's not that large. So, does nobody in this store culture matter? Only you and your conversation? And I had the experience one day. I mean, one woman was just yelling into the phone, and I said, we can all hear your conversation. And she said, I have every right to do whatever I want. This is a public space. I said, yes, you do. And
Doesn't
she
mean you
got
should.
She got back on the phone and she said, "This bitch just told me this," in the same loud voice, right? And that's the kind of separation, Scott, that we're creating,
Mm-hmm.
the divisiveness. Absolutely, for sure, for sure, for sure. Make sure nobody in your family has a cellular device at the dining table. Okay?
Yeah, that's one of the big things. I grew up, big family, dinner table before cell phones, obviously, and everybody going around communicating. That's one of the big things that,
Yeah.
and today I see a lot of people don't have that. They're sitting down at the TV or they're on their phones and doing different things, and it's the eroding of really those relationships leading to things. Or a buddy of mine had his kids at a birthday party, 12 girls over, all of them were on their cell phones, not communicating, talking about it. And they were talking, he joked about it. He's like, yeah, some of them were talking about each other in different threads, and it was a sad situation because if you just put the phone down, you miss so much. You're just busy into your phone versus what's going on in life and liberty, whether you're at the
Yeah.
museum or somewhere else.
Well, absolutely. Absolutely. And it's such a waste
Mm,
because you're present with other humans and you can have that full on communication. And now I think that we're getting fearful about having full on communications
mm-hmm.
because we speak in shorthand, we speak in emojis, we enormous risk doing that. You know, I teach negotiation in the MBA program at the University of Texas at Dallas. And I tell my students, you know, emails are for congratulations, for affirmations, and for confirmations.
Mm.
Like to say, I just heard you say this in the hall. Is that, do I have that right? Um, I just want to affirm that we're going in this direction and the plans are this way. And then, congratulations. That was great. Loved what you contributed to the meeting. The rest of the time, meet in person.
Mm. And more people don't want to do that. They'd rather do it electronically or text message, and you miss out on a lot of that interpersonal behavior and connection. Really, is the most important thing on that, right?
It is. And, you know, you can have meetings like we're having right now. We can see each other fully. You
Yep.
know, I'm not on my cell phone. I know you're not on your cell phone. That's very clear. We don't have to, we can be working from home and have meetings like this. But the thing is that we start using text or email and nobody knows. Like I use this example in some of the trainings I do, Scott, so we can have a bit of fun with it. I put on a piece of paper 6 words, and the words are: I never said I dated Leslie. Now you put that in a text message. Does it mean I never said I dated Leslie? I never said I dated Leslie. 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 Right? Which one does it mean?
And if it's in lowercase or all caps too, right?
And so you read that and you think you know what it means and you assume you know what it means and you go off in a direction and it could be 180 degrees off what the person meant. So if we're responding to people without checking, we're making the assumption that we know and then we say, but you said it, I got it in a text, we're just going off the rails. We're not going to have communication. We're not going to have healthy relationships. And if you don't have healthy relationships, you never get validation. You never get respect. You know, in my book, Kaizen for Couples, I talk about the 5 relational gifts. We need to have honesty, safety, trust, respect, and reliability. And if we don't have them, we're not going to have a healthy relationship. And when we have honesty, safety, trust, respect, and reliability, that gives us the 3 hallmarks of a healthy relationship, which are equality, reciprocity, and mutuality. But if I am not engaged, if I am not speaking person to person, if I am not taking time to be present, if I've always got my head on future pace, even though I'm sitting here now glazed over, I'm missing the opportunity. This is the only moment there is. You know, you and I are never going to have, for me, it's 2:45. on September 25th, 2019 again. We're choosing to spend it together to create something.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if I were on my phone, or if I were not, and I was, we weren't doing this by video, and I'm answering you, but you can tell that I'm also answering email and things,
Mm-hmm.
we miss it. We miss it. And to go back to our primary relationships in life with our family, if we're not 100% there, we miss it. And the last thing you want to do when your kids are all gone is to say, I wish I'd gone to the game. It's
Mm-hmm.
too late. I wish I'd had Friday night date night with my wife or my husband. I wish I'd settled in and had more cuddly evenings. They're gone. And was it really so important that you get out that email, or that you go, to whatever? Calibrate what's important, calibrate what's in your value system, and behave accordingly. I have two things that I tell people are the two most important things I can teach them. So, shall I share them with you?
Please do. Yes.
Number one is the truth is what you do. And the piece that goes with it is your behavior is your belief.
Mm.
So therefore, no matter what someone says, believe their behavior. And when you're having quiet moments with yourself, ask yourself, if my behavior is my belief, is that the way I want it? And make a change.
Because a change can be made like that. It's just a matter of taking the action to do it, right?
Yeah, making the decision that you're not going to get what you think you want by being on the path you are.
Mm-hmm.
If you say you want closeness with someone, then spend time with that someone.
That's the truth. That's the truth. Put the phone down, close the computer, and just be in your moment with that person. It's a huge thing. And I think that's good not only for spouses, but like you said, people in the workplace, people you're working with, teams. Just be present and be accountable and be who you want to be, right?
Yes, and just think of where we were last week at New Media Summit. If we'd all been on our phones, we would have missed all those connections, all of that wonderful time, the fun, the dancing, the joy, the food. We would have been too busy. But for those of us who said, okay, minimal work, totally present here, we had a different experience than the people who were not sitting in the sessions, sitting outside, being on their computer, being on their phone, doing all of that. They lost something.
Mm-hmm.
So it's always a choice.
Good stuff. What's the best way for people to get a hold of you to find out more about what you do or to see about working with you and having you help them out?
Sure, simple. Go to my website, transformingrelationship.com. And if you want to be my client, I make it really simple for you. I have a 1 hour full session offering to try me out for only $97, and you go to beaclient.com.
Oh, get that again, beaclient.com. Get an hour session for $97. See if it'll work out there for you. Check out the website once again, Transforming Relationship, singular, transformingrelationship.com. We'll have those websites also in the show notes in the description on the video if you're watching the replays or listening. Or of course, always go to the episode blog on WeCloseNotes.com for all the links and ways to connect with it.
Yes, you'll find my podcast. There's a link to my podcast on transforming relationship. And also, when you go on the podcast page and all, you'll see the link to my YouTube channel. It's called ForRelationshipHelp.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Well, thank you so much for joining us on this busy day. It's great to catch up with you. We didn't get a chance to spend much time together at New Media Summit, but I'm glad we spent the time today, definitely.
Yes, it's so good, Scott. Thanks for inviting me to be your guest.
Honored to have it. So much great nuggets out there. Some really good tools. I know I've taken a few notes that I'm going to actually apply to my relationships to help me with them and take a step further. And I highly encourage you out there, those that are listening here, either on the videos, listening to the podcast, or on any of our 17 AM FM radio stations across the country. Take the time, check out our website, check out our YouTube channel, and schedule the time. You never know. Maybe there is a way to overcome your hijackals and be a better person and a better relationship there for you. So
yes, and it may be a hijackal trait, but not a hijackal person.
Love
so
it.
You need to know that.
Amen to that, definitely. Well, guys, go out, take some action. Trust me, the more you do, the more you can do to make your relationships better, the easier life gets. And that's one of the best ways to do things. Is that less stress in your life, and usually means because you've got better relationships with either people working with you or working for you to get to that one direction. So go out, take some action, and we'll see you all at the top, everybody. Bye. Great stuff.